Can run, can run. So run and run and run. So every day now you brace for the sound you've only heard on TV. You go to class scared, wondering where the best hiding spot would be. And the big bad man and his big bad clan, their hands are stained with red. Oh, how quickly they forget. They aren't gonna help us, too busy helping themselves. They aren't gonna change this, we gotta do it ourselves. They think that it's over, but it's just begun. Only one thing can save us. Only the young, 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 only the young. Can run, can run. So run and run and run. So run and run and run and run.
Your love lifted me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up, quench my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore. You know your love keep on lifting higher, higher and higher. I said your love keep on lifting higher and higher. Listen, now once I was downhearted. Disappointment was my closest friend. But then you came and he soon departed. And you know he never showed his face again. That's why your love keeps on lifting me higher, higher and higher. I said your love keep on lifting me higher and higher. All right. I'm so glad I finally found you. Yes, that one in a million, girl. And now with
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Justin Mesler. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the mobilization director here at Voters of Tomorrow. I'm joining you today from Massachusetts on Massachusetts and Wampanoag land. Before we get started, I would love for everyone to introduce themselves in the chat, where you're calling in from and why you're excited to be here. So I am going to enable the chat for everyone. Please introduce yourselves. I know we're on a webinar setting, so we can't see all of you, but I would love to see everyone, at least briefly, in community in the chat. Amazing, amazing. North Carolina, Georgia, California, Texas, all over. Wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. It is so incredibly inspiring seeing this community come together after months of growing, planning, strategizing, late night Zooms. The team at Voters of Tomorrow is so excited to kick off our volunteer efforts with you all this evening. So before we begin, a few logistics to go over on this webinar. If you have a question throughout the call, please use the Q&A function located at the bottom of the screen, and Voters of Tomorrow staff will do our best to answer. If you'd like to turn on closed captioning, that's also available at the bottom of the screen. We will be dropping links in the chat throughout the evening, so we are going to be disabling the chat now to ensure things don't get too cluttered. We'll also be sending all the relevant links to you afterwards in a follow-up email, along with a recording of this webinar. And if you're joining on the live stream as well, we will also do our best to get those links to you. So no need to stress about trying to keep track of everything. Next slide, please. So this evening, we'll be grounding ourselves in the importance of this work of engaging and empowering young people at this moment. And we'll have the opportunity to hear from activists on the ground making change in their communities. Then we are so lucky to be joined by Maxwell Alejandro Frost, who's running for Congress to be the first member of Generation Z. And finally, our mobilization team will lay out our vision and tangible next steps for you to take, regardless of age, to get involved as we grow this youth-led movement through November and beyond. So thank you all so much for joining us, and I now have the privilege to pass it over to Santiago.
Hey everyone, I don't know if you can see me, I can't see myself. But anyway, there we go. Hi everyone, so my name is Santiago Mayer. I am the Executive Director of Voters of Tomorrow, and I could not be any more excited to be here with you all. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am joining you all from Mexico City today. I want to thank all of you for being here because we really need support of every single one of you if we want to make Gen Z turn out this November. I started Voters of Tomorrow because there was a lack of youth leadership in the spaces that we're supposed to be reaching out to young voters. And I'm very proud to say that Voters of Tomorrow is entirely youth-led and led by Gen Z. We are by Gen Z for Gen Z movement. And our goal is to engage, educate, and represent Generation Z in our political system. And that is at the center of everything that we do. The most important thing that we can do to save democracy this year is to turn out young voters. There are 20 congressional seats, 6 Senate seats, and 5 governor's races where Gen Z turnout alone could be the deciding factor. Gen Z literally has the power to decide who holds power, and this could not be any more important. This isn't about one election. This is really about saving our democracy. It's about the attempted coup that we saw on January 6th last year. It's about climate change and the gun violence that is killing our peers. It's about the book bans and the educational gag orders that are seeking to punish our LGBTQ plus friends and our LGBTQ plus teachers for being who they are. And it is also for the 157 Congress people who just a few hours ago voted against marriage equality. It is our responsibility to make sure that the far right can never get close to holding power, not again and never in the future. I want to recognize our entire mobilization and organizing team because they have been working tirelessly to develop a program that will help all of you participate in turning out young voters and preventing the far right from ever gaining power again. We built a simple yet an undeniably effective plan to mobilize and turn out Gen Z voters. And if we want to keep youth turnout gains made in 2018 and 2020, it is imperative that our efforts focus on strategies built to energize young voters and make sure that we let them know how much power they have and how much is at stake. We're combining digital and on-the-ground organizing that is critical to reaching, engaging, and activating as many young voters as possible. And the only way we can make that work is with committed volunteers and empowered young people like all of you guys tonight. Volunteers are really the backbone of political power in our system. Whether you can see it or not, every single campaign relies on volunteers to phone bank, to canvass, to text, and even sometimes write postcards to voters, just to make sure that they turn out on election day. As an organization that is working to support a lot of campaigns and make sure that Gen Z is making its voices heard in all of them, we rely on volunteers as well. Everyone at Voters of Tomorrow, national and state teams, is a volunteer, and we're all here today because we care about the future of our democracy. We're here today because now more than ever, we need to act boldly and with confidence. We are training and mobilizing the next generation of democracy defenders, those who are going to stand guard against fascism and fight against authoritarianism. The far right is attacking us because they know what we've done, what we can do, and what we will continue to do with all of your support. And that's because this November, Gen Z is going to elect pro-democracy champions up and down the ballot. We're going to elect candidates who think that books should be read, not banned. We're going to support candidates who will support youth rights, and we're going to fight for candidates who are going to fight for us. In just 114 days, Gen Z is going to make sure that the far right understands what they did, and that is that they pissed off the wrong generation. And I know that all of you see what the pundits are saying and what the forecasts say, but they're wrong. What I'm saying are not hopeful statements, and they're not empty promises. Like I mentioned before, nearly half of the 50 most competitive House seats will be decided by youth turnout alone. Gen Z has the power to decide Senate races, gubernatorial races, and down the ballot elections in state legislatures and city councils. Our generation is ready to pick up the fight that was started by those before us and to ensure that generations who follow us grow up in a better, more just, and a safer world. We're ready to elect candidates who support women's rights to choose, candidates who are going to pass climate legislation that our planet desperately needs. And we're going to elect candidates who are going to finally put second graders above the Second Amendment. We're not playing around, and I really mean this. Our generation has grown up in a world that has been dominated by wars, gun violence, economic recessions, terrorist attacks, and now an ever-evolving pandemic. But our resolve has not and will never waver. With the support of a broad coalition that includes all of you, Gen Z is going to continue to fight to promote justice. We're going to continue to march for our lives and our rights, and we'll walk out of class to stand up for what is right and to fight for the world that we want to build. In our schools, we've learned about the long battles that generations before us fought to make America a better place, and we refuse to be the generation that lets everything we've fought for slip from our grasp. Our elected officials are waging war against us, but Gen Z is as energized as ever to turn out and protect our rights. We're going to keep the speaker's gavel away from Kevin McCarthy, and we're going to ensure that Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz can never claim a majority in the Senate. We're forming a coalition that will stand up to protect kids from a radical faction that cares for nothing but their fascist agenda. Our rights are on the line, and our generation is unified in support of the pro-democracy movement. Gen Z is going to deliver a blow that the far right can never recover for. And to talk about more of this devastating blow, I could not be more honored to introduce one of the organizers that is on the ground making this happen. And that is Maya Mackey, who is our amazing Voters of Tomorrow Texas president and is making Greg Abbott's life hell.
Yeah, hi, nice to see you guys. Let me see if I'm spotlighted yet. All right, I'm here now. Yes, we are dedicated, among other things, to making Greg Abbott's life hell until we no longer need to, because come November, Greg Abbott is not going to be governor of Texas anymore, and I have complete faith in that, and that is what we are working towards. That is what Gen Z is going to do. So, as Santiago introduced me, my name is Maya Mackey. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the president of Texas Voters of Tomorrow. I'm joining you right now from San Antonio, or Yanaguana, the land of the Tap-Pilam Coahuiltecan Nation. Thank you so much for being here and for committing to fighting for a brighter future for this country. I want to first welcome you to this movement and also to let you know about some of the great work that we've already been doing at both the national and the state level. I'm just so deeply impressed by the work that we have done as an organization and honored to have led that. As state chapters, we are right now coordinating to fight back against the horrific infringement on our rights that is the Dobbs decision and the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So please keep your eye out for ways to take action on that in the future and keep up the fight, keep fighting, do what you've been doing. We've also been doing amazing work distributing books in Florida, Virginia, and Texas. I can speak for my state. We have distributed over 700 banned books, which is fantastic. Now, Being from Texas and being an activist from Texas, I just want to take a moment to focus on the hard work that our people here on the ground have been doing. And I especially want to thank the LGBT activists and the activists of color who have been working tirelessly both on our projects and historically to create this foundation of organizing power in the South, which is and always has been carried by low-income people of color and marginalized communities. So, as you probably know, Texas recently has been an epicenter for a litany of regressive, reactionary policies, and these are targeting everyone from women to the LGBTQIA2S plus community to people of color. The Jim Crow faction will stop at nothing to limit our rights, and we are fighting back. Most recently, we've been working against the banning of books that include content about race, gender, and sexuality by distributing over 700 banned books to students and community members across Texas. We led a march for education at the Texas Capitol, bringing our demands to their doorstep, with speakers from organizations across Texas saying we are not going to go back into the fascist, censored dystopia that they want us to go back into. I also want to acknowledge our team in Katy, who's done amazing work in fighting not only against book bans, but a district internet filter that restricted access to LGBT resources and content. Cam and our wonderful communications director, Grace Daner, have been at the head of that effort. And so all of this is incredibly impressive, and I'm honored to have been at the helm of this. But the fact is that it's going to take more than handing out books. It's going to take more than marching to get the change that we need in this country and in this state and in the South. And so that is why I'm so grateful to y'all for being here. So we in Texas right now are shifting our focus to making sure that we can get as many young people as possible registered to vote and at the polls this election season, and you are going to be part of that effort on a nationwide scale. I am so excited to see the change that we will create. I also want to mention that we are always looking for people to start new chapters at their high schools and colleges. That goes for Texas and for all of the other states. So if you're interested in starting something and taking action on your campus, or if you know a young person who's passionate and invested and would like to start a chapter on their campus, please have them contact us. You can email us at texas@votersoftomorrow.org. And you can also go follow us at VOT Texas on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. If you're into Texas politics, my Twitter is at Maya J. Mackey. Thanks again for being here, y'all, and let's give them hell this midterm season. Let's take back what's rightfully ours and make a better future.
Hi everyone. My name is Elijah Lee. Hi everyone, my name is Elijah Lee, and I use he, him pronouns, and I am currently on our tech land here in Chesapeake, Virginia. I'm a 14-year-old community activist, and I'm also the co-president of the Virginia chapter of Voters of Tomorrow. Now, I really quickly want to take a quick moment to thank Santiago and Justin for this wonderful opportunity to speak to you all. Now, while I'm still fairly new to the area of politics and institutionalized advocacy, I have learned one thing. I have learned that we are stronger together. Right now, Virginians must fight harder than ever to maintain the progress we have gained over the years. We've seen efforts to implement complete government control over a woman's body, to stop history from being taught in the classrooms, along with doing what must be done to silence the voices of the most marginalized here in the Commonwealth. While this may be terrifying and quite frankly a little bit scary, we as young people here in Virginia are prepared to do what we must to stop this radical right agenda. We're prepared to do what we must to not only cement the work that we have done, but continue to march on. And we're going to need all of your help doing it too. Today, we recognize the impact youth are having. Let it be known that it does not stop here. In Virginia and across our country, people such as myself are planning to have marches, put forward legislation that advocates for everyone, along with providing numerous educational materials to hundreds of high schools. Now, as Maya said, while these marches are important and these lobbying efforts are beyond necessary, we know that they are simply not enough. It's with this in mind that we are planning to launch a mass voter registration drive in Virginia, and that also means that it's up to you all to help us launch a mass voter registration drive across our nation. Young people will do what we must to make sure that we have an opportunity to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No longer will we live in a world where women do not have the right to choose, where LGBTQ youth face constant discrimination in their classrooms. No longer will we live in a world where our young people fear going to school. Now, while this seems impossible and only meant for dreams, I sit here today and I promise you all that our young people have a special talent for turning our dreams into your guys' reality. We have a special talent of taking what has seemed, quite frankly, impossible and making it something that we see on an everyday basis. For too long, young people have been counted out of the conversation. Today, we make our own. It is time for the voices of our future generation, as the voters of tomorrow, you could say. It is time that those voices are heard. If we want real change, if we want real freedoms, if we want our students to be able to get into a classroom and to not be afraid, then it is up to us. It's up to us to make that change. So again, we are no longer pulling a chair up to the table, but today we make our own table. The people at Voters Tomorrow Virginia, thank you all so much. So please feel free to contact us always. Feel free to follow our Twitter at Voters of Tomorrow Virginia, and that has a buttload of information that can really help everyone get involved in this movement. If you're interested in Virginia politics and the work that I do on an advocacy level, my Twitter's up there as well at ElijahLee07. And again, thank you all so much for this opportunity and to know that we as a community and we as a country stand behind one another to make the change that we all wish to see. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Ashley.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I am going to be passing it over to Ben, our organizing director, who is going to talk over our voter outreach program.
Thank you, Ashley. My name is Ben Glauner. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the organizing director here at Voters Tomorrow. I am coming to you from New York and Manitowoc land. And it is truly an honor speaking with all of you. We have a really exciting program that I am proud to outline. So we are all here because we see many different paths that I think we all know will lead to one of two places. A democratic future where we have a plurality of voices and we are stronger as a result, and a strong country as a result. Or one that's scared of the democratic process, of debate, and of one that gives, and of everything that makes this country have so much potential. No one recognizes that more than the youth of this country, and we designed an organizing program that is going to, like Elijah said, build a table for our priorities, one vote at a time. Excuse me. And now these are lofty goals, but we are going to accomplish them in one of three ways. The first is a decentralized approach to organizing. You have heard from two of our state chapter leads today, and as a national team, we exist to help them accomplish their goals and what they want to do on the ground. Electoral and advocacy goals look very different in Texas than they do in Virginia, than they do in any other state in the country. And they know best how to produce sustainable change in their state that we need in every state of the country and every state that will have chapters in and races in. The second is an early focus on voter registration. We are building tools that will allow each state to ensure that every eligible voter is registered, because ultimately it is not the politician that has the most support that wins, but the politician that receives the most votes. I think that is a lesson we have learned in many different places across the country, and we're going to make sure that the candidates that Gen Z supports are the ones that get the most votes in every race. And we are also planning many exciting events for when the schools open in the fall to help accomplish this and sign up as many Gen Z voters as we can. And now the third is educating them on their choices. We need candidates that speak to the issues of our generation, and we cannot just register young people to vote. We need someone for them to vote for. That's why we are endorsing and uplifting a slate of candidates across the country who will work on youth rights, gun violence prevention, reproductive rights, healthcare, LGBT rights, student debt, and so much more. All issues that are important now, but will be only grow in importance as time goes on. Now, I appreciate everyone's time, and I hope this sounds as exciting as it does to us. We are building one of the first organizing programs focused solely on the youth vote. And we know this can be truly transformational in all the races that Santiago mentioned before, and across the country as well. And now I will turn it over to Caitlin, who will introduce some of our actions to accomplish what I laid out and turn out the voters of today and the voters of tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben. So hi everyone. My name is Caitlin. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm National Distributed Organizer of Voters of Tomorrow. And I'm going to be introducing some of the upcoming phone banks. And our phone banks will be turning out voters to elect Maxwell Frost, who we will hear from later on. Samantha will drop the links in the chat shortly, but once you click the link, you'll see the phone bank shifts that you can sign up for every Saturday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, or Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you have some free time on your hands and you would like to make some calls, I highly encourage you to sign up for some shifts. Maxwell is running to be the first Generation Z elected to Congress, and we need all the help to make that happen. With that being said, go sign up for some of the phone bank sessions and send that link to 3 other friends to join you. And now I will pass it on to Shadi, who will discuss a little bit more about relational organizing.
Hello, everybody. I am actually going to jump on in and introduce our amazing, amazing guests for this evening. I have the pleasure and honor of introducing our next speaker, candidate for Congress in Florida's 10th District, Maxwell Alejandro Frost. Our first endorsement of 2022, Maxwell Frost has the opportunity to be the first member of Gen Z elected to Congress. Amidst the far right's nationwide campaign against youth rights, electing someone like Maxwell is more critical than ever. He's running to redefine what it means to be a representative and to give young Americans a seat at the decision-making table. Maxwell was pushed into activism and politics after the Sandy Hook shooting and knows what it's like growing up as a young person in modern America. From his work as the National Organizing Director with March for Our Lives to working with the ACLU to restore voting rights to over 1.6 million Floridians who had previous felony convictions, we know that Maxwell has what it takes to fight for every American. With so much at stake for the future, Voters of Tomorrow knows that Maxwell will stand strong with Gen Z. Maxwell, thank you so much for running and for joining us this evening.
Of course. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I am extremely proud to be a Voters of Tomorrow endorsed candidate for the United States Congress here in Orlando, Florida. First off, I want to take a moment to thank all of the Voters of Tomorrow leadership, all of the organizers, everyone who put this call together. Thank you for all the work you're doing across the country to build power for and with young people, which is something that isn't traditionally done, especially in political spaces. So thank you for that work, and thank you to everybody who's on this call. Please don't let yourself leave this call without signing up for a shift to get involved with Voters of Tomorrow, without signing up to get involved in one of our collaborative phone banks we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. We know, y'all, that to build power, we have to establish grassroots all over the country. And that's what Voters of Tomorrow is doing. They saw a niche place where young people can really come together and organize and have a political home. And I think a lot of times when we think about grassroots organizing in politics, yes, there's a ton of organizations out there, but there's still hundreds of thousands of young people who still have a hard time figuring out where they want their political home to be. And that's where Voters of Tomorrow comes in, providing a place where young folks can get together, not just talk about the issues, not just discuss the issues, but actually take action. And, we're told our whole lives that we're the leaders of tomorrow, and we're the voters of tomorrow. And a lot of us are also the voters of today, and we're the leaders of today. And that's the exciting thing about VOT, and why I'm excited to be here, and why I'm honored to be, Voters of Tomorrow's first endorsement ever. So, I'm an organizer of 10 years, and for me, I believe our greatest tool is our story. My story started 10 years ago. I went to an arts middle school and high school here in Orlando, Florida. No, it wasn't like High School Musical, but it was kind of close. And I actually studied jazz drums. And, before every jazz band concert, my best friends and I would go to a Fridays across the street, and we would load up on a bunch of junk food. It probably was not smart right before a show. And I remember we were there eating, and there was a silence that kind of fell across the entire restaurant. We all kind of looked around, looked up at the television screens, and saw that somebody walked into an elementary school in Newtown, Connecticut, and murdered 20 children and 6 teachers. Seeing that had a huge impact on me. I couldn't play right at the show that night. I kept thinking about it. When I was in class, I kept thinking about it. When I was hanging out with friends, I kept thinking about it. And so I actually went to the memorial that was going on just a few weeks later in Washington, D.C. And it was there that I had what we call our call to action. I remember it was the night of the memorial. And there were all of the kids who were the families of the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting sitting around this pool. We were kind of wading our feet in the water. Everyone was just talking. And across from me was a guy named Matthew Soto. Matthew's sister, Vicky, was a teacher that when she heard the gunshots, she hid her class in the closet and in the cabinets in the classroom. And she actually saved their lives. And she was murdered, though, by the killer. And I remember sitting across from Matthew, and he was talking about how, he missed his sister, and he was just crying about what happened, and seeing someone at the time, Matthew was 16 years old, seeing a 16-year-old with the demeanor of a 60-year-old crying over his sister who was murdered for just going to school that day. It changed my life forever. I mean, I ran straight to my hotel room. I remember I called my mom because my mom's a public school educator of over 35 years. She actually retires next year. I thought about my sister. I thought about my mother. And I made the commitment and the dedication to every day and for the rest of my life, fight for a world where no one has to feel the way I saw Matthew feel that night. And that's why I got involved. And we know how this work is, right? You get involved for one reason, and you find out that there's a lot of issues. But for every issue, there's many solutions. And for every solution, there's even more people getting it done. And that's what this call shows here today. And for people watching at home, you're part of the solution, right? You're part of making this country a better place. And we know that we live in some challenging times. I don't know if y'all saw this recent Harvard Institute of Politics poll, but over a third of young people believe that there will be a violent civil war in our country, in our lifetime. And I mean, it's not easy, and it's not hard to see why people would think that. With the problems of our democracy right now, with what's going on with January 6th, people are losing faith in government, and that's scary. It's a slippery slope, and what we need leaders who can help restore that faith. We need leaders who will go to the table and fight tooth and nail to create a world where there's no gun violence, to create a world where people have affordable housing, where people live in a country that is battling the climate crisis, because we know it's an existential threat, and the cost of not doing anything is far greater than the cost of taking bold action. See, oftentimes I'm asked as a member of Gen Z, what does Gen Z care about? Do they care about different issues? And what I say is, I don't think Gen Z cares about different issues than everyone else. We just see things through a different lens. We see things through a different scope. I mean, if you think about the timeline of Gen Z, and I think about my own timeline in elementary school, turning on the TV and seeing a bunch of people like sleeping outside of Wall Street, talking about something called wealth inequality, learning about that in elementary school, growing up and seeing that 30 minutes away from where I'm at right now, there was a young brother who looked like me and who was just walking in a neighborhood and was murdered for being Black, Brother Trayvon Martin. To know that people went to a high school much like mine and were gunned down in Parkland, Florida, for no reason. And that right here in Orlando, Florida, we lost 49 angels at the Pulse nightclub shooting because of homophobia and hate. This is the timeline of Gen Z. But you want to know what's also the timeline of Gen Z? When brother George Floyd was lynched in broad daylight, we took to the streets. When we saw the threat that Donald Trump possessed, guess what? We went out and we went to the ballot box and had the highest youth voter turnout in the history of our country. See, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I'm confident that Gen Z is not just ready, but passionate to get it done. And that's why I'm running for Congress. I'm running for Congress for the world we deserve. And that's what sets Gen Z apart. We understand, we have kind of this righteous anger of the world that we wish we were born into, but we're not. But guess what? We're going to fight for it every day. And so thank you all for being here. Continue the fight. Do not let yourself leave this call without signing up for the phone bank, without signing up for the next thing. Don't let this call end before you sign up for the next step, because this is important, but it can't just be marching. It can't just be hopping on the call. It has to be this and the next thing. And so, in these times, I always remember Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. And she said it. She said, what the people want is simple. A country as great as its promise. Y'all know what that promise means. And let's fight for it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your work. Let's win this race on August 23rd. That's when my primary is. Send the first member of Gen Z to the United States Congress. And let's keep building power together, y'all. I'll be there right with you. Thank you so much. And thank you to voters of tomorrow. Have a great night.
Thank you so much, Maxwell, for your inspiring call to action and for running for Congress and being hopefully being our first Gen Z member. Hi, everyone. My name is Shadi. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the recruitment manager here at Voters of Tomorrow. To help our endorsed candidates win like Maxwell, we can use one of the most powerful tools that we have in organizing, which is leveraging our personal networks, which is what we're going to do today, right now, right here. We are going to relational organize. We all have our networks of people. So what we're going to do is a small example with my own network. We have my mom who works full time, my friend Justin, who's politically active, and my roommate Veronica, whose activism is limited to just listening to my rants about far right state legislators. Because we want our efforts to have maximum impact, we're going to ask our networks to do doable actions. So for my mom, she's probably too tired to knock on doors, but what she can do is she can donate. So I will send her a donating link to Maxwell's campaign and to Voters of Tomorrow, actually link to Voters of Tomorrow, so she can send a donation. For Justin, he's really politically active, so I'd ask him to sign up for a phone bank. Or some canvassing shifts, depending on what's available in his area and what he likes to do. For my roommate, I asked her to make sure that she's registered to vote and then to get her to turn out her network to vote. So all of these interactions, these conversations will turn out voters, but we need to know who's already been contacted and which voters need turning out. So to track our relational organizing, we use this app called Impactive, which is available both on the App Store and on a browser page. So you'll see the links in the chat. And then while we're all downloading that app, I'm going to do some relational organizing of my home, of my own with Impactive on my cell phone. Oh, I can't see with my cell phone. And then first we'll open up the app, which brings us to our homepage. The Voters of Tomorrow homepage looks like this. And then I'm going to click the button on the dashboard on the bottom. That looks like a phone book in order to sync my contacts, which will help me see who's registered to vote and who's not. And then here's the contacts page. And then you can see that I haven't synced my contacts yet, which is going to change. We're going to click the button, sync my contacts, and then we'll click it again to get started. And then awesome, it says contact synced. Obviously it'll take a little longer. And then as you can see, it says they haven't matched all of my contacts yet. So we can do that manually. Yay! So what I like to do personally is while I'm bored sitting on the couch watching TV, I would like to go through like Instagram, find like popular pro-democracy, pro-youth accounts, and see which one of my mutuals follow. Who follows them? I want to reach out to them, see if they're registered to vote, and then get them on Impactive. And then to do that, we will have to search them up. So this is how we do that. So we look them up in our search box here, and then you have to type them out as they appear on your phone contacts page. So if one of your contacts is like most awesome person in the world, they're going to show up as most awesome person in the world on Impactive. So you're going to have to put their name. You're going to have to put your contact name there. So they show up. So here we have Shadi, me, and then I show up. And then, we also, you can see a little filter button there. That's who you can see, like who's already, you can filter out who's unmatched, who's matched, the districts they're in, etc. So now we can click on my contact here, and then you can see that I'm not matched yet. And then we're going to click match contact because we know I'm registered to vote. Now, to actually match the contact, we have to enter in some information. We need to add my age range and my state. And then now we're ready to search the voter file. Wow, look at that. There's one person named Shadi Ahmadzadeh who's located in California between the ages of 20 and 25. Wow, who could that be? Who could that be? So we'll click on that, and then that looks like the right information to me. So we'll click save this match in order for it to go into Impactive. And now you can see that since it shows my party and the district information, I'm fully saved in our database, and we're all set to go. I'm fully saved. And then if you want to join us in relational organizing with our friends, we do have events for that. They're all remote, but you can do it at any time you want. We have relational organizing actions and trainings. You can find the links to those in the chat. And then you can also get your networks to register to vote, to volunteer, and to join us at an upcoming friend-to-friend phone bank, which will also be linked in the chat now. And then if you have any questions, you can ask us on Twitter, Instagram, the likes, and we'll also, you can send in the Q&A portion. We'll also help you out there. And on to our chapter operations.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Bernstein. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the chapter operations manager here at Voters of Tomorrow. Excuse my tired eyes. It is 3 a.m. for me right now, but I am so excited to be joining y'all. And I am also so excited to announce that we have active chapters in Iowa, California, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, New Jersey, Texas, Alabama, Arizona, Michigan, and Georgia. They've all done such amazing things, as we heard from Maya and Elijah earlier, but we are growing so fast, and there's a place for all of you. So if you want to start a state chapter, or you want to join a current team, or you want to start a local chapter at your high school or college, we have a place for you. I'm dropping a link in the chat right now, and you can use that link to apply for a campus chapter, a state chapter, or a national or our national executive board. Like everyone on this chat has been saying so far, if you want to join a group of dedicated Gen Z youth to inspire and empower action on the most important causes to us and our generation through voting, then this is the perfect place for you. But if you are so excited and can't wait and you want to start right now, then Justin will let you know how you can help us immediately.
Amazing. Thank you, Samantha. Hi, everyone. So please, thank you all so much for being here with us tonight. Please sign up for a phone bank, sign up for relational organizing friend-to-friend bank, or sign up for pulling together a campus or state chapter. Do one of those things, at least one of those. Get at least 3 friends involved with some of these actions, and we'll continue growing this movement and building this youth power. These phone banks and the relational organizing trainings are open to anyone of all ages, and our campus chapters and state chapters are more specific to Gen Z. So thank you all so much for joining us this evening. And of course, buying voter data and using these platforms does cost us money. So if you do feel moved to do so and are financially able, please consider making a donation to Voters of Tomorrow. Samantha just dropped the link in chat because all of these things do cost money. But again, thank you all so much for spending your evening, afternoon, or very early morning with us in the case of Samantha. And we'll see you on an upcoming phone bank or training or wherever else we see you. Have a good night, everyone.
My loving arms around you, honey, I can stop and face the world. Let me tell you, your love keep on lifting me higher, higher and higher. And I said your love keep on lifting me higher and higher. Keep my love going.